My name is Sarah, and I was 20 when this happened. I've always loved hiking, and I knew the trails in our local state park like the back of my hand. This particular afternoon, the forest was quiet, the sunlight dappling through the canopy and casting dancing shadows on the path. The peace was perfect, exactly what I was looking for. That feeling didn't last. About an hour into my hike, I heard it for the first time. A faint, almost childlike giggle carried on the breeze. I stopped and listened, but it was gone. I told myself it was just a strange echo or a bird call I didn't recognize. But a few minutes later, I heard it again, a little closer this time, and unmistakably a human laugh. It was a soft, mocking sound, and it sent a chill down my spine. I quickened my pace. The laugh came again, and then a third time, each one closer than the last. It felt like it was following me, keeping pace just out of sight. I started jogging, my heart pounding in my chest, the tranquil forest suddenly a place of immense dread. The giggles became more frequent, sometimes a single detached sound, other times a longer, more breathless cackle. I began to sprint, not looking back, my lungs burning and my legs aching, desperate to get back to my car. I could hear rustling in the bushes to my left and right, and I could hear the laughter getting closer, as if it was right behind me. I finally burst out of the tree line and saw my car, a beacon of safety. I fumbled with my keys, jumped inside, and locked the doors, my chest heaving. The laughter stopped. A wave of relief washed over me. I turned the key in the ignition, and the engine rumbled to life. The car's speakers hummed for a moment, and then the sound came on, loud and clear. It was the same laughter I had heard in the woods, but it wasn't coming from outside. It was a podcast I had been listening to earlier, a series of creepy stories. My phone was in the back seat, and it must have reconnected to the car's Bluetooth. The laughter was just part of the story. I laughed at my own terror. The real horror came when I looked at my phone and saw that the podcast was not playing, but instead, the sound was coming from a voice memo. I clicked play and heard a voice whispering, "I see you, Sarah." My name is Michael, and I was 30 when I was an avid hunter, and I prided myself on my ability to navigate and survive in the wilderness. I was deep in a national forest, tracking a deer when dusk began to settle. I decided to set up a small camp for the night, feeling completely at peace with my surroundings. I was in a completely isolated place, and the closest trail was miles away. I fell asleep to the sounds of the night, but was woken by a strange, guttural noise. It sounded like something was being dragged through the leaves and underbrush, making a distinct scraping sound. It seemed to be circling my camp, just beyond the reach of my small lantern. I grabbed my rifle, my heart pounding in my chest, and waited. The dragging sound stopped. I heard a low whisper, almost like a dry rustling of leaves. My skin crawled. I shone my flashlight into the darkness, but saw nothing. The light was like a spotlight on a stage with a terrifying audience. As I listened, I heard the whisper grow louder. Then, a tall, gaunt figure stepped into the edge of my flashlight beam. It was impossibly thin, with long, spindly limbs. It had no face, only a smooth, featureless head. I was paralyzed with fear, unable to move or scream. The creature stared at me, its blank face unnervingly close, then slowly took a step towards me. I snapped out of my trance and scrambled out of my tent, leaving my gear behind, and ran blindly through the trees, not knowing where I was going, just running as fast as I could. I ran until I couldn't breathe, my lungs burning and my legs aching. I stumbled onto a dirt road and saw the lights of a park ranger's truck in the distance. The ranger helped me back to my truck, and as we were driving, he saw the missing persons poster. He saw my terrified face. He slowly asked me what was wrong, I told him my story about the gaunt figure. He just smiled a little bit, and then he asked me if I've ever heard of the legend of the faceless men of the woods. I looked at the poster, and the face on the poster was the same face as the faceless monster. The real twist was that the face on the poster was the same person I had seen in the woods. The ranger drove me back to my car and told me to get out. As I got out of the car, he said, "I hope you find what you're looking for, Michael." Then he drove away, leaving me alone in the forest. My name is Alex, and I was 17 when I made a foolish bet with my friends. The woods behind my house were old and filled with local legends, and I had promised them I'd spend the night in the small, abandoned hunting cabin deep in the woods. I walked into the woods that evening, filled with a mix of fear and excitement. I found the cabin, an old, decaying wooden shack with a broken window. Inside, the air was cold and stale. The cabin was empty, save for a small, crudely carved wooden doll sitting in the corner, its eyes wide and vacant. I pulled out my phone, took a picture of it, and then quickly left. The image of the doll's unblinking eyes burned into my mind. As I walked, I looked at the picture on my phone. The doll's eyes were open, but when I looked at the picture, I saw that the doll's eyes were closed. I was terrified. I quickly deleted the picture and ran. I ran until I couldn't run anymore, and I finally got home. My friends were waiting for me, and I told them what had happened. They laughed at me. I showed them the picture on my phone. The doll's eyes were open. My friend looked at the picture and said, "Look closer, Alex." I looked closer, and I saw a reflection in the window. My friend said, "That's not what I'm looking at. Look at the reflection in the window." I was confused. He pointed to the reflection in the window. I looked at it, and it was my own face. But the face was not my own. It was a boy who had gone missing in the woods 50 years ago. The horror was that I realized the boy was still in the cabin, and I had just taken a picture of him. I looked back at the picture again, and the face in the reflection was smiling. The real twist was that the reflection was not a reflection of me. I looked at my friend, and he had a terrifying smile on his face, a smile that was the same as the smile on the face of the missing boy. I looked at my other friends, and they all had the same terrifying smile. My friends were the ones who had gone missing in the woods, and I was the next one.